Connor Murphy is an Edmonton Oiler. Let's break it down next on the CHGO Blackhawks Emergency Podcast presented by Xfinity. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Emergency Podcast presented by Xfinity. I'm Jay Zawaski with Mario Tirabassi. Chloe is somewhere running the show. We appreciate that. Connor Murphy is an Edmonton Oiler acquired today from the Blackhawks for a second-round pick in the 2028 NHL Draft. The Blackhawks will retain half of Connor Murphy's $4.4 million salary. So there we go. There it is. It's a trade we all expected. Thoughts on the return, Mario?
I think the initial reaction is I'm actually a bit surprised that it ended up being a second round pick. Now it's down the road, 2028 second round pick. But for the fact that they're, retaining half, which we kind of expected, if you're trading Murphy, it's going to require retention, or it would have required being finagled in a money in, money out kind of deal. But for Connor Murphy at $2.2 million for a team that needed to upgrade their defensive rotation, I think this works. I think this works for the Oilers, and I think the return is good for the Blackhawks. It's down the road, but it's a second round pick. If you're talking about moves that can continue to help keep your prospect system stockpiled, or at least continue to give you future draft assets that you can use however you want, either via trade or actually using them to get players. That's been something Kyle Davidson's really been focused on. That's what he's done well in this rebuild, and it fits that narrative. So you get Murphy for a second round pick down the road. That's fine. You also open up that roster spot defensively, which we've been talking about these last couple of days, especially since, the trade deadline's been approaching and Kevin Korchinski's been here. We've been saying, like, okay, how's he going to get into the lineup regularly? I think this gives them that opportunity to get him in there. And it also, being that it is on the right side, and, Murphy is, or Korchinski's been in, they've kind of had to finagle the roster a bit. I think it makes sense that then you can go Crevier, Levshinov, Rinzel on the right side, assuming Rinzel will be able to go next game. And then you still have Vlasic, Grzelcyk, and Korchinski on the left. And then, we'll make some roster moves or some lineup moves when Wyatt Kaiser is back to full health and back playing again. But this gives that roster spot opportunity to Levshinov, Rinzel, and Korchinski to regularly get into games.
Well, that's what we want to see down the stretch here. We want to see young guys given an opportunity. We want to see who's got what, and they're certainly going to get that. I was a little bit surprised by the 2028 thing too, but if you look at the Blackhawks draft this year, they already have 3 second-round picks, which is crazy. They have 2 first-round picks. One is top 10 protected, we've learned. So, 2028, if you look at the Oilers, that is the year where Connor McDavid is out of contract with the Oilers after 2027-28. So maybe that's the last year they're going for it. Maybe they'll have fallen out of things by then, because you're going to have, a 36-year-old Zach Hyman, a 33-year-old Leon Draisaitl, a 35-year-old Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, right? Assuming all these guys still play. Darnell Nurse will be 34. Matthias Ekholm will be 38 with another year left on that deal. So we don't know what the Oilers are going to look like in 2028. There's a chance they're a worse team than they are right now. There's also a chance that they say, well, this is our last chance with Connor McDavid. We better do something to try to win with him, or he's going to bail and really go for it. So we don't know. That's where I'm a little bit like about the 2028. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's a second round pick, which is, especially if you've been listening to the tenor of the hockey insiders around the league over the last few days, felt like it was a buyer's market, not a seller's market, and the Hawks got the most value you could probably have expected for Connor Murphy.
Yeah, and I think with that notion that kind of has been talked about the last couple of days, where it's been like, oh, there's more sellers than buyers, and it's not beneficial if you're really trying to get rid of assets when you have not a lot of people looking to get things. Like, it makes things more competitive. So you didn't want to get into a spot where, you get to Thursday or Friday afternoon, you still have Connor Murphy and other teams have gone out and gotten other defensemen. And you're looking at, well, this team doesn't really need to make this trade, but if you're really dead set on doing it, here's a fourth or something like that. Like, you get into a spot where, then you're taking something that is not the value that you wanted. So, good on Davidson and the Blackhawks for not kind of being left behind in this type of market, and either kind of being, I don't want to say stuck, quote unquote, with Murphy, but getting to the deadline and kind of being like, we might not move this guy now. I feel like that could happen with some other teams, but Davidson felt like he had a price for Murphy that he wanted to get the value. Obviously, too, I think he wanted to give Connor Murphy the opportunity to be on a team that can do something into the postseason. And obviously, the Oilers, even though they're not the team that's like running rampant in the Western Conference, like, they're still a team that you look at and you're like, yeah, they're gonna find a way to get into the playoffs. And anytime you get into the playoffs with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, even as bad as their goaltending has been in previous years, they've gone deep. So I think getting Murphy to the Oilers allows him to have that chance to play meaningful playoff games, which is something he just really hasn't done in his career and obviously has a desire to do. And can't ignore, this is Kyle Davidson working out a deal with Stan Bowman. And Stan Bowman was the guy that made the deal to acquire Connor Murphy all those years ago, prior to the 2017 draft. So, I think this makes a lot of sense. On a unreleased mini pod, we talked about Connor Murphy getting traded
yes, we did,
to the Edmonton Oilers. So, hey, a little pat on the back for us. But I think this deal, it makes sense. It's above what, the return for Murphy is above what I think a portion of people were expecting. And it checks the box of getting the Blackhawks what they wanted, which was roster opportunities. I really can't be upset with this deal at all. It does it is a little bit underwhelming, and that's a stronger word for how I feel. But it is a bit underwhelming for it not to be like this year's second round or next year's. Like, it's 2 drafts from now before you can even, think about using that pick. But in 2 years, you could think the Blackhawks are going to trade that pick in some sort of fashion to add a player that's going to help them on a playoff push. Like, that's where we're expecting this team to be in 2 years down the road from now. So I think it gives them that potential flexibility as well.
In 2028 now, they will have a first, 2 seconds, a third, 2 fourths, a fifth, and a sixth. As of today, of course, that could certainly change at the draft or any time between now and then. But compiling draft assets has been a thing he's done. And I like the point you just made, that at that point, we should be feeling like the team's ready to contend or compete, right? Be it firmly in playoff spot, trying to make a run. And come deadline, that extra second round pick could come in really handy when you're talking about making that a deal. So these are the sort of things that I like about Kyle Davidson, where he seems to have the foresight to say, what is this going to look like in 3 or 4 years, right? Like, what is our team going to look like? What are our draft and deadline needs going to look like? Where I think his predecessor, who we dealt with today, is very much like right in front of me. Whatever's right in front of me.
He could care less about the 2028 draft.
And look, I know we love to bag on Stan Bowman, but he got when it was time for the Hawks to win, he got a lot of deals done that got them over the hump. He got Antoine Vermette. He got Brad Richards. He brought in guys. Were the costs high sometimes? Absolutely. But he did it. And he has his name on 3 Stanley Cups. Whether you credit him for all 3, you have to credit him for some of it. And he's a guy who's going to go get it and figure it out later. And eventually, the figuring it out later part will catch up with him. And it's going to happen in Edmonton, but he's looking at 2028 too as, I've got this much time. I've got from now until the end of 2028 to get a Stanley Cup in Edmonton. Draft picks be damned. I'm going for it right now. Is Connor Murphy the guy that's going to put the Oilers over the hump? I don't think he plays goalie, but he makes their defense a lot better. And especially Connor Murphy in a role that's a little more suited to him, where he won't be, top shutdown guy. He probably won't be logging as many minutes. He'll still be on the PK, but he can settle into a third pair spot here in Edmonton and really just settle in and add stability to a team that needs it.
Yeah, I mean it's an improvement for the Oilers, so that's what they needed. And yeah, he's not the goalie. He's not the one stopping the puck at the net, but he's a guy that can play that defensive style where he does limit chances, and he is like the Oilers penalty kill has not been great this year, and Connor Murphy plays a big role on what is currently the number 1 penalty kill in the NHL. So I'm sure that Bowman and his Oilers group looked at that and said, yeah, we could use someone who can help us on the PK like that. So yeah, I think it's a good move for the Oilers in what they're trying to accomplish come the deadline. So yeah, I mean it's good. Like I think the gloom that has been around the Blackhawks the last few weeks or whatever, in portions of the fan base has kind of talked about this as being like, oh yeah, it'll be a conditional 5th round pick for Murphy, and it's just like, I mean,
no.
Let's operate with a little bit of within the track record of Kyle Davidson, and he's not a guy that in these moves, be it a larger one or a smaller one, getting Spencer Knight or getting rid of Riley Stillman for some Jason Dickinson, whatever. Like,
yeah, right.
There is few times when the move feels like, oh, Davidson did not do a good job.
Right.
Like I feel like a lot of times he will come away from a trade and it's either like something like this or the Spencer Knight trade where it was like both sides benefit and it feels like this is what it should have been. Or you come away with it and being like, Hawks did really good here. So yeah, I think it's another one of those moves where you kind of go, all right, Davidson did what he was hoping to do. And again, like we talk about the rebuild and his plan and all this stuff. It's just kind of like one of those, another one of those little, notches in the timeline of like, yeah, he set out to do something, set a price, get best value for Murphy, and he did it.
Well, we have some Oilers fans jumping in on the podcast, and welcome. I'm sorry, Ched is not doing a breaking news pod for you guys, but I'll tell you this. If there's any Oilers fans that are feeling like you got fleeced here, a second-round pick in 2028 isn't helping you win a Stanley Cup right now, and Connor Murphy might. And I'll say this, like, for what he lacks in spectacular point production, he makes up for in grit and defending and blocking shots and standing up for teammates. He is also an incredible guy in the locker room. He's an incredible guy in the community. Now, he'll probably only be in Edmonton for a few months before hitting free agency, but you got a good player and a great human being who's going to influence that locker room positively in Edmonton and help them on the ice. Make no mistake, Connor Murphy has been underrated his entire time here in Chicago. I just reshared it the other day at ALLCHGO.com. I wrote about his legacy here, had some teammates comment on him. And I think in my 40-some years of watching the Blackhawks play, he might go down as one of the most underappreciated Hawks ever because of the era in which he played, because of the style in which he played, and because he was traded for Nicholas Hjalmarsson. Someone in the chat called that trade a loss. It wasn't. Nicholas Hjalmarsson retired, like 5 years ago? 4 years ago, or at least?
Right.
So yeah, I think it's a winning trade to get him in the first place, and I think both GMs are really happy with this deal, and they should be. I think they both ended up doing pretty well in this one for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we do have to hit the break zone. You do us a favor, hit that like button for us. These mini pods, these emergency pods, we do these whenever news breaks. So if something happens, we're going to be here for you within 15, 20 minutes at the most. So hit that like button to show your appreciation and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back in 2 minutes on CHGO Blackhawks. And what if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. It's super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense, and that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. It's all of your devices working together in perfect harmony for 5 full years. And the best part, there is no annual contract. There is no hidden fee. And you'll get Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from us. A lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won. Alternate captains are traded. Dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
Whether it's on the field or in your financial life, the best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. At Old National Bank, they believe every play matters. From everyday checking to long-term planning and commercial banking, their team is there to build momentum and help you move the ball forward. It all starts with a plan tailored to you by professionals you trust. From simple tasks to bigger financial moments, you can count on Old National Bank to coordinate your needs with steady, knowledgeable guidance that brings clarity and confidence with each step. It's a partnership designed to help you feel supported, not just today, but well into the future. So whether you're celebrating a win, rebuilding after a tough loss, or gearing up for whatever comes next, Old National Bank has got your back with tools, insights, and an expert crew that's always in your corner. Old National Bank, member FDIC, where relationships and results matter.
All right, if you're just joining us on this CHGO emergency podcast presented by Xfinity, Connor Murphy has been dealt to the Edmonton Oilers for a 2028 second round pick. We have a super chat here from Chill Dog. Says, good for Murphy. Would you expect Kyle Davidson spends on a solid veteran defenseman this summer? Seems we will need that. I think that's what these next 22 games are going to dictate, right? If the 6 young guys are going to be playing here down the stretch play well, then he might be comfortable going with a mostly youthful decor. Now, look, you'll have 25-year-old Alex Vlasic. I think Wyatt Kaiser will be 23 at that point. So you'll have some older guys on the blue line, but still no one you would call a long-term veteran. So I think this is a rehearsal for these guys. This is a tryout, and it would not shock me that if next year during training camp, a veteran is brought in on a PTO, just like Matt Grzelcyk, if they look up and down the lineup and they say, you know what, we thought defenseman X might be ready and we don't think he's ready just yet, we're going to sign a veteran to a PTO, have him fill in here, low cost, low risk, give a guy an opportunity to sort of resurrect their career like they've done with Grzelcyk. That's always an option. So none of us saw that coming when training camp opened, because we were all saying, oh yeah, Renzel, Levchinov, they're going to be here all year. Everything's great. And then Grzelcyk came in, played well, and they were able to have a little flexibility defensively.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not we all, but I mean, maybe some people have been thinking like, oh, maybe Matt Grzelcyk is also available, also potentially on the move. But I mean, there could be a chance that, you know, he plays through Friday and is not dealt and ends up coming back and playing again next year here in Chicago. That, you know, that could, rather than trying to go out and get like, ooh, maybe we could go get Matt Grzelcyk. You might just keep him and have him just be the veteran guy with this group. And I know he's not as like, you know, ingrained in the group as Connor Murphy was within the organization, but he's still a guy that can be looked at as like long NHL career, longer than anybody else that's going to be on the team next year. Like, he could be the guy that you just bring back and just say, like, we don't need to go out and fish for something that we already know is here. Now, if he wants to stick around, that's one thing. But if he doesn't, then you're probably getting into a conversation where it's like, it's likely that you look at, the free agent market and you say, like, who could be a guy that we could bring in that could fill that role of being a veteran, but also, like, you don't want to go out and get the veteran that's going to play 20 minutes a night, 82 games, because you want the young guys to do that.
Yes.
And like you said, like, these final 22 games or 22 games is kind of like that final, like, audition before the season ends and before you go into next year's training camp of, like, where are these young players at? Where are these young defensemen at? And how much more growth is going to be necessary? Where can they end the season so that you go into next year's training camp, you go through the summer and you say, yeah, we actually have some confidence that Levshinov, Rinzel, Korchinski, Del Mastro, like, these guys that are the young guys that are going to be fighting for spots in training camp or going to fill out the roster in training camp. They're going to be guys that you can actually trust with consistent NHL minutes and responsibilities.
100%. A little bit of an interesting note here from Ryan Rishaw from TSN says a trade can't get finalized until a body is sent down to the minors after 4 p.m. Central. Oilers had to make a move, but as reported, it will be Murphy at half retained for a second in 2028. So they can't make this trade official until after 4 p.m. The Oilers can then send somebody down, and they'll be able to make that move. So that's why you haven't seen anything official yet, but it is definitely happening. By the way, looking at some of the 2026 free agent defensemen, there's one guy I want, Cale Makar. Is he available? You think the Oilers or the Avs are just going to let him walk? I think so.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I've heard negotiations have been very very heated.
Yes. Just going up and down the list, though, Makar, Trouba, John Carlson, Blackhawks legend Shea Weber, Alexiak, Anderson, Connor Murphy, Nick Jensen, Nick Leddy, John Klingberg, Radko Gudas, Eric Gabranson, Matthew Dumba. This is going by salary, by the way. So there's nothing that really jumps off the page that is actually attainable. I mean, there are some names that jump off the page, but I don't think Cale Makar is coming here. So.
A lot of guys that would have been great 4 to 5 years ago.
Yeah, but a lot of those names sound like PTO potential types that might be out there when the season begins. Yeah. A bunch of people talking about this, by the way, in the chat. Now that Connor Murphy is gone, there is an A available. An alternate captain spot's available. It's got to be Connor Bedard, right?
It's Connor Bedard. Like, that's the easiest stitch that you could do. Take it from Murphy's jerseys, stitch it right onto Bedard's, and go from there. I mean, we kind of had that conversation a little bit about Bedard and the leadership group recently, and how when I think it was when Foligno was hurt and when Dickinson was hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. My voice cracked. Yeah.
I think it was that around that timeline. And Bedard had the A on his sweater. And it also kind of came with feeling like he had a bit more, like, puff his chest out a little bit more, So yeah, I think it's a very easy call that Connor Bedard steps up and gets that A on his sweater. Jason Dickinson is also a letter wearer for the Blackhawks, and he's potentially the next guy on the move, so there'll be someone else that'll probably step into that role. I wonder Vlasic. I wonder if it's maybe Tavo. If they say, like, we don't, we want to have a veteran guy wear it. Maybe that could be the way they go. But I mean, I would rather, me personally, I would rather see the young guys who are like, we're flipping this page to the next era completely, or getting to that point where it's completely flipped. And the next step is leadership group. Who's the young guys that are going to be the leaders? And I think Bedard for sure. Vlasic's definitely in that conversation. You could even make you could make a case. Frank Nazar's in that conversation as well. So yeah, I mean, it's changing.
Yeah, there's good options, which is a good thing. But yeah, you're right. Bedard did seem to have a swag about him when he wore that A. And look, there's just games where he has that more than others. Right. I don't know if he's like, I'm feeling kind of down. Oh, I got the A on. Time to go kick some ass.
Well, I wonder. Well, it's funny because I remember when when that happened, that was shortly after, like a few games after he had the abusive official
Yeah. Where he rolled his
situation.
eyes. Yeah.
Well, he probably did more than that. But and then it was just like, yeah, I guess I can actually talk to the officials now or something. Like I wonder if that, or like he gets some more respect from the officials because he's actually quote unquote allowed to talk to them. But I wonder if even that is just a different aspect of the game that helps him, because I mean he was, when he was in juniors, he was part of the leadership group and a captain in Regina. When he's been with Team Canada, in World Juniors, U18 Juniors, whatever it was, like he was part of leadership groups. So I wonder if, like, not officially being in the leadership group and having that ability to, whenever there's a penalty or a call or whatever it needs to be, or to get an explanation, and you see the players go over to the officials, like he's used to having done that before, and isn't that guy in Chicago because he's not part of the leadership group. Or I know guys that aren't part of leadership talk to officials, but like in an official sense, I wonder if that's like just in a flow of a game, or just like feeling like he has that stature plays into a confidence thing. I don't know.
It certainly can't hurt. And I think it also, not only for his own confidence, but I think it also brings a bit of respect with it too. And I think that that's maybe something that Connor has struggled to capture from people around the league yet. I think there's this, because of the narratives that were shared his first 2 years about, oh, well, pond hockey and all that. And, we rolled our eyes about it and got frustrated about it because we knew, A, it wasn't true, and B, it was going to have a negative impact on his, national, I want to say brand, but reputation is probably the right word. And having that on your sweater shows that your teammates, your coaches, your management staff believes that you are mature enough to handle it and you're a leader. So we'll see. We'll see what it's going to be. We're going to find out tomorrow. So here's your defense right now. As it stands today, this is probably how they're going to line up tomorrow. Vlasic and Crevier, Grzelcyk and Levshunov, Korchinski and Rinzel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's
young.
And when Kaiser comes back, I don't know if Korch goes back down, if they don't trade Grzelcyk. I don't know.
I don't get this. I don't get the sense that they should send Korchinski down. I get the sense that they might rotate, right? They might have Kaiser be more. He's going to come back and be a regular, but they might rotate Rinzel, Levshunov, Korchinski, just as the final 20 games go about. But yeah, I mean, it's Korchinski and Rinzel. They've played together in Rockford this year, so they have some familiarity together. So we'll see how it rolls out. I mean, we know.
They won't necessarily be those combos either. It wouldn't shock me to see if
it probably will be though.
The Korchinski Rinzel thing is a little scary to me. It's a little scary to me.
Sure, but I mean, what else are you going to do?
You could put Rinzel. You could put Rinzel with Vlasic and Crevier with Korchinski.
I guess you could, but I think
that gives every line some protection.
I think Jeff Blashill loves the Vlasic Crevier pairing at the top and giving them as much responsibility and minutes as possible. I don't know if he's going to completely flip that to have them be babysitters.
I don't know. We're going to find out. We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
We're going to be on before the game. Obviously, Hawks and Jets tomorrow at 7. We've got your pregame at 6:30. And guess what we're going to have by then? Lineups. So we'll know exactly what Jeff Blashill is thinking in a little bit here. So thanks for joining us on this CHGO Blackhawks Emergency Podcast presented by Xfinity. If you've not hit that like button yet, please hit it. We would appreciate that big time. And subscribe to our page so you know when we go live. Turn on those notifications. We will talk to you tomorrow at 6:30, unless something happens between now and then, on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.